I'm out in the greenhouse today. I'm going to up pot our cabbage. Don't they look great? Aren't they beautiful? I'll be honest with you, this is the prettiest tray though that I'm showing off. The other two are okay, but this one really looks great. So you can see how large they are. I need to up pot them so they can continue to grow a little bit, and then we can put them out in the ground. These are actually probably big enough to go ahead and put out there, but we don't have the gardens ready yet. We don't have that part ready. So I'm going to go ahead and give them a little bit more room so they can continue to grow, and then they'll be ready for sure when we get everything ready outside. I'm taking advantage of the really warm temperatures we've had this week. It's been so nice. The wind is still really cold. It's not quite March yet. It may be by the time you're watching this though, but it feels like March already with that strong wind. Matt though, he says that we've been having a March wind since about this time last year. He says the wind has blew for a whole year. So he may be right on that, but it's one of those, it does seem like March, even though it's not technically March when I'm filming this, because it's warm in the sunshine, but then that wind comes and it chills you and you realize it's not true spring of the year yet, but it's coming. You know it's coming. It's getting here. So I've been trying to take advantage of it and do a few things outside. I hope to continue cleaning in my flower beds today. It's one of the things I want to do. I'm being joined by Binks here. Well, he's turning around. He's not interested. He's just curious at what I'm doing. So I hope to continue to do that. There's a few other things I'd like to do outside. I'm not sure I'll get them all done though. This is already after dinner and I've got to work in a hurry so that I can get supper. Thank goodness I've got leftovers today, so I don't have to worry about actually cooking, but I have to warm it up and do all that kind of stuff. So I guess I better get on it. My first chore though is to actually up pot the cabbage. So I've got my larger pots already filled with some dirt. I'm just using potting soil. I'm sure you could use something better than that, but that works for us. It's what we use every year. And these little burpee containers that we use to start them in, they're really nice because they've got the bottom of them is kind of squishy, so it'll just push right out. So you can just push out the plant there and get it out pretty easily. Even taking it, you know, without disturbing the roots too much, and just plop it down in there, and that will just give it more room to grow. I might need to add a little bit more around it, and then once I'm done, of course, I'll water them in, and I guess I'll take them back inside. I'm kind of curious if I could just leave them out here. Now there is information you can find online about hardening off your little seedlings. I've been setting these outside on the back deck a few hours each day during this warmer weather, so I don't know if that's enough to have made it okay, so I could just leave them out here. That would be really nice and not have to carry these big things back inside, but I'll decide that later. So it's kind of hard to see here, but you can see there's a root sticking out of the bottom. That's kind of a good sign that you need to up pot them. Also, you could just look at the growth on them, but when the roots start coming out the bottom, that's a sign that you need to get them in a larger container. I think I'm going to do them kind of like an assembly line. I'm going to put them in there, and then I'm going to come back and put them where they need to go. This one actually has 2 in it. I wonder if I can gently pull them apart. That one had long roots on it. I wish we had the garden ready, and I'd be tempted just to put these right in it. Okay, got 3 more. Let's see if I can find any more. This is flat Dutch. I need to remember which is which, so see if I can find any more flat Dutch to fill up those 3. Few more here. Long roots, but those just don't look as good. Okay. Now I'm gonna put all these nestle them down in there, and then this part will be done. I'm going to have to get me some extra dirt though. Okay, those look great. I need to clean up my mess and water them in. Another thought that I had is, I thought of this, I don't know, a week or so ago. I might get Matt just to bring my grow lights out here, my grow shelf out here, now that it's warmed up some. Of course, winter's not over yet, but I could plug it up out here, and then I could also, I have some little heat mats. I could put them on inside it and zip it up, and that would kind of keep them warm enough. But first, I've got to continue up potting the rest of the cabbage. So I'm going to move these out of my way. So I got the cabbage done. That's 38 cabbage, Copenhagen and flat Dutch. The flat Dutch looks better than the Copenhagen, but I think maybe putting them out here will help, or putting them in a larger container will help. Even the Copenhagen maybe get a jump start. And I was debating while I was doing all that in my mind, like, should I leave them out here? Should I get Matt to bring the shelves? Well, I could just plug the heater up out here too. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I don't think I'm going to take them back inside. And that will really be good because they will be out here. And if they continue to grow like they are, and we get the garden situated, they can go right in the ground. And then that will open up my shelves on the inside for my peppers. I still have not got my peppers planted, so that's on my list of must-dos. I've got to get that done. But I'm very happy to have these up potted. I know that it'll just make them grow even larger so that they'll be ready to put out in the garden once we get it done. While I was inside the greenhouse, I noticed something really interesting outside the greenhouse. That's snow. That's the snow we've had. Even though we're, many days past having snow on the ground, it's still hidden back here because it's really in the shade this time of the year. Our backyard is. We live on the north side of the mountain, and in the wintertime, the sun shines even less. So that small amount of snow has managed to hang on back here at the greenhouse, even though we've been having really warm days. Even though it's terribly windy out here, and as the sunshine's going further behind the mountain, it's getting more chilly. I'm going to try to do two more things. I'm going to cut back the roses on our steps that Matt built last year. I loved the steps. I loved the roses. I can't wait to see how lovely they are this year. And then I'm going to tackle the little bed right in front of my kitchen window and see if I can get that cleaned up. Maybe I can get those two things done before the wind blows me away. That looks so much better, and I'm so glad to have that really prickly job over with. The roses were so pretty on each side of the steps last year, and I know they will be this year. In between each step, I had planted some thyme, and I'm happy to see a little of it, at least a few of them are still alive. I may have to go back and add some more in the places where the plants died, but there's at least probably, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe about 5 or 6 plants still living. So that was good. That's good. And hopefully eventually I can get all that to fill in with thyme, and it's really low growing, and then it would be good to use, be attractive and pretty, but it would smell wonderful as you're going up and down through there if you step on it, and just releases all the wonderful fragrance. This is where I should have been working. It is warm down here in the sunshine. I'm not cold at all standing down here. Matt's burning up. I'm ready to put my coat on. He's got his short sleeves on. You go off in the shade, it's cool. It's pretty out here in the sunshine though. Matt is studying on the shed. You making any progress?
I'm squared up.
Trying to square it up?
I have to change the size of it a little, get it square.
Uh-oh. Smaller than you thought?
Well, I thought I could go bigger than I thought, but it won't square up at that size, it don't seem like.
Yeah. You're still studying, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you get there. So this is the messy flower bed outside the kitchen window. I already cleaned out some of the flower beds that come all the way down the side of the house, from between here and the greenhouse basically. So I need to do this little part, and then I would be able to move on to other ones. The big, really big messy one up in the front. I can see a lot of daffodils poking up in here and a few other things, but it definitely needs to be cleaned out. It looks so much better. I'm so glad I got it cleaned out. I turned over the rocks, made them look a little fresher. Once I got rid of all the leaves and the old plants from last year, you can see the daffodils coming up. This is some daisies that grow right here, a big clump of them. I tried to cut some of the old growth off of them. More little daffodils that I stepped on. Hopefully they'll be okay. This is a dianthus plant. It looks like it's dead. I left it though. I didn't cut too much on it because I'm afraid it's dead, but I'm gonna leave it and see if it comes back out. Here's another dianthus that looks way better, looks way healthier. Here's some little new things growing. I think those are poppies. I think there may be something else. More dianthus down here that looks pretty good, and more daisies. Here's some hostas trying to come up right here. I think that's hostas. No, that's not hostas. That's a lily. That's a daylily. That's the daylily that I brought back from up the creek. It's just an orange one. So I'm really pleased with how this looks. I'm going to go in and get me something to drink and go back in the greenhouse for a few minutes, I think. Back to where I started in the greenhouse. I went in and got me some tomato juice to drink. Got thirsty out there and actually got warmed up once I moved up closer to the sunshine. The tomato juice is really good, and I can't believe I forgot I canned it till recently, but I've sure been making up for lost time. I've been drinking it. I did not grow up as someone that liked tomato juice. Granny didn't really can it. She canned tomatoes, and that's what I've done all these years until last year. Now I know I'll be canning tomato juice from now on now too, just so I can drink it. But when I worked at Lake Logan, it's when I first realized I like to drink tomato juice. I was probably just too picky to try it before then. All my duties there was connected to the boathouse. That's where I worked, you know, thinking about filling out people's license, helping them, you know, give them a fishing license, helping them with their fish, cleaning them, giving them tackle and fishing poles and all that kind of stuff. But we also had to set up for meetings. That was a meeting facility. And so we would, you know, help with the tables and the chairs and things like that. And then each little meeting space had like a little refrigerator, and so they put drinks and stuff in it. Sometimes we'd have to do that. And they were those little, you know, little drinks like that. I can't remember if it was Pepsi or Coke or whatever. I don't remember nothing about that. But I remember that they had V8s, and they put the V8s in there. And some of my cousins and probably some of the other people I work with too were drinking them one day, and I thought, well, they seem to really like those. I'll taste it. And then I did, and I realized, hey, I like tomato juice too. So I'm really glad that it took me all these years to can it, but I'm glad that I did. And it was so easy. One of you wonderful people sent me a steamer. I don't know, it's been 3 years ago probably now, a juicer. It's a steam juicer, so it gets the juice out. And what I did was I used it with my tomatoes. We grow so many tomatoes, and we love to eat them. And I can them. When I'm canning tomatoes, I'll throw the tomatoes in there too. But you always just end up with so many of them. And Matt calls them yard snacks. You know, we loves to eat them outside. We eat them with our meals, put them in salads, all that kind of stuff. But sometimes you just get an overabundance of them. And when that happened last year, I threw them all in that steamer and just let it do the work, and then out come the wonderful juice, and then I canned it. So it was just so easy. I know that I'll do that. From now on, I'll do that. It was so easy. I'm really glad that I got the stuff done, and it was so nice just to be outside. This is not true spring of the year. We'll have a lot of more cold days, but on these little taste of spring that you have, it's so hard not to want to get outside and start doing stuff, and really does the body good too. I think it does you good to get out in the fresh air, and always does me good as far as just my mental space of being outside and doing things with my hands, working in the garden, all those things. I was thinking when I was up at the flower bed, the last place I was, that bank there that kind of where the flower bed is, and then the driveway, but the other side is just a bank that drops off to the next driveway, the other part of our driveway in the basement. And I have English ivy growing on it. And it's always, every year, something I have to do is I have to trim it back because it tries to grow into that bed up there. It'll try to grow into eventually, into the driveway, both driveways, but when you drive on it, it kind of keeps it corralled there. But I was thinking about, in one of the books I'm reading now, I'm reading it to you, some of you listen to the readings and some of you don't, but it's a wonderful story, the family stories, or family history and stories of Opal Corn Myers. And in one of the recent readings, she really talks about about her mother's love of flowers and her Aunt Florrie's love of flowers, and how they, handed them to other people and shared starts and done all those kind of things. Well, that's where all of my flowers really come from, was from people, different people in my family. And that ivy come from someone like that too. And it reminds me, though, even further back than when I got the ivy was when me and Matt got married. Jean Stalkup, I don't remember how in the world I knew she had ivy at her house, but somehow I did. And so I asked her if I could come get some, and I was going to decorate the church with the ivy. Of course, she said, yes, come get all you want. And I remember her telling me, she said, now, I'm going to give you this, but don't you ever plant it at your house, because if you do, you'll be like me. You'll be sorry. You'll be sorry that you ever planted it. But, of course, there I have the bank growing, and I do have to keep it beat back, but I guess it's okay as long as I'm alive to beat it back. I don't know what'll happen after that. Maybe it'll take over the house. But I love having, I'm a sentimental person, so even my plants have stories and memories tied to them from the people that give them to me. Aunts, Granny, of course, and even family friends. I feel like they're more like family than friends, especially Jean. She was a dear, dear, sweet person. I hope you enjoyed being out and about with me today. I'm always glad when you stop by to help me celebrate Appalachia. I hope you'll keep doing that. It won't be long, we'll be planting those wonderful cabbage and the rest of our garden.